Good morning. Look how beautiful it is outside today. All right, let's head on in because we gotta talk. I was supposed to be on the 6:20 a.m. flight today to St. Louis, and then I was supposed to go from St. Louis to Atlanta, Georgia, and then from Atlanta, Georgia, up to Boston. But here I am. And you may be asking yourself, why are you taking so many different flights just to get to Boston? Hold on. Sorry, I'm gonna just let that refrigerator run. It's not always a bad sign. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. You might be asking yourself, Mark, why are you taking so many different flights just to get to Boston? This is what we're gonna talk about today. Over the past 5 months, I have been having the hardest time commuting to my airline job. And I've tried everything in my power to make it make sense. I cut so much off of my budget. I cut back everywhere I possibly and reasonably could, just to make the financial benefit worth it. Well, over the past at least 3 or 4 months, it's been a financial drain. It's been a financial drain, and just by scheduling time off from the hotel and add that to my commuting costs to get to wherever I need to be, I'm leaving almost $1,000 out of my pocket every single month. And that's something that I'm just not going to continue to do. Because for one, it's not worth it. And so I've made the easy and hard decision to not renew my lease here in Oklahoma City, and I've decided to go ahead and move to base because it makes so much better sense. It makes sense financially, it makes sense on my schedule, and it makes sense because it makes sense. And whenever I made this decision, I went to my front desk supervisor and my AGM and I delivered the news to them. And I gave them a little more detail than than what I normally would because I care for them I care for everybody there, but I care for them too so much. I didn't want to leave them hanging. Anyway, whatever. But getting off on a getting off on a tangent. But I went ahead and I told them my reasons for stepping away from the hotel. And they were both surprised, which I'm surprised that they were surprised because I feel like I've been dropping hints all along, especially whenever, they ask how my travels have been. Traveling for work itself is amazing, but it's just getting to work and getting home from work that's the problem. And my airline, I'm not going to say who I work for, but my airline used to have home base for their pilots and their flight attendants. And whenever they got rid of it, they gave us the option. You can move to one of our bases or not. But if you choose not to live in one of our bases, you're going to be responsible for getting yourself to work. And at the time I weighed those decisions, I forecasted it to not be much of a huge issue because my airline has these agreements with other airlines where you can fly for free or at an extremely reduced rate, but it's on standby, which means you only get a seat if there's a seat open. Now, flying standby can be a blessing or a curse, or and a curse, which in this instance is not a curse, it's just a problem. It's a huge problem. It's a thorn in my side, it's a thorn in my wallet. And that's just one issue. There's multiple things compounding this decision to move to a base. That's the first issue. The second issue is the airline that transports me 99% of the time flies all Boeing airplanes. Now, I'm sure y'all know by now who and what Boeing is and what they make. And it's no secret that Boeing has been having a lot of issues. Well, not my airline, my commuting airline put in a large order for even more of these MAX airplanes, and they were planning on receiving these airplanes like so many a month or so many a year. So my commuting airline forecasted their schedule, their route network to accommodate the deliveries of these airplanes. Well, Boeing ended up coming up short on this. Not just them, but to a lot of their customers that are relying on these deliveries of these airplanes. And so my commuting airline decided to cut their growth. I can't remember by what percentage amount, but they decided to cut their growth. And what I've noticed in my city that I commute out of, that they have cut some flights. And those some flights that they cut were the ones that I was relying on the most. And that was the second issue as far as commuting and making my decision. And that's where we are today. I need to do what's best for me and what makes sense. And what makes sense is just moving to base, like I said before. I'm going to miss Oklahoma. I'm definitely going to miss this place. I've met the most amazing people here, and I have not one, not two, not three, but 4 best friends here that I've met. One, we used to live in Salt Lake City together, so our friendship was already in place like way before Oklahoma was even a thought. But you know, it's just I'm just so glad and so grateful to have met Linda, Kim, aka Kim Trails, Angela, and Jen. And you know, I will for always be grateful for their wisdom and their friendship and their advice, and you know, it's definitely time to stop dragging the anchor and pull it up and set sail in a different direction. And I'm definitely going to miss working at the hotel that I'm currently working. I've said this many times before. I've said it on this channel. I've said it in private. I have the best coworkers I have ever had in a hotel, other than Jen and Angela and Aaron. I have the best coworkers I've ever had, starting all the way at the top with the GM. He's so hilarious. And the AGM, like, she is so amazing. The front desk supervisor, like, I'm just enjoying watching her blossom into the young professional that I knew without a doubt that she would grow to become. And she's beating my expectations. I'm like, whenever I was 22, I don't think I matured that fast. But still, I mean, our housekeeping department is amazing. um, Food and beverage, awesome. Lauren, I love you to death. You know, just everybody there is just so awesome and so amazing. And I will always be forever grateful to work with such an amazing team. And in my eyes, they can do no wrong. I don't care what you say, Karen. They can do no wrong in my eyes, and they never will. Now, as far as hotel hospitality goes, I will continue to do hotel hospitality for the foreseeable future, but I know at some point in time, I don't know if it's going to be in the next 6 months. I don't know if it's going to be a year from now, but hotel hospitality for me will come to an end. It's not part of the longer term professional goal for myself. I thought that it could be that, but just mapping out where I intend and I anticipate my life to go and hotel hospitality are not on the same path. Now, let's move on to this apartment. When I moved into this apartment, um, I I knew I wasn't gonna stay here long. I just had a feeling. I just had a feeling. Long before my commute went to Kaka, long before we got to this point right now, I I knew I was not going to be here for very long. And I'm so glad I signed a 6-month lease. When I first moved into this apartment, I didn't notice anything right offhand. I'm so busy, and whenever I'm home, I like to have a cocktail or two, and I like to watch my shows, and I never would notice anything. However, as time progressed in this apartment, I've noticed things around the apartment that I've had no choice but to notice, and that's things moving on its own. I never saw anything like move from like here to like over there with my own two eyes, but I would hear it and then I would turn and I would see it. And I have a couple of stories. The first one is, um, it was, I don't know if I had to, probably, I'm sure I had to work that day because I'm always working. But anyway, I was, I was just waking up and I heard the curtain rods because I'm packing everything up. I have been packing things for the past 2 or 3 months because I didn't want to do it all at one time. So I've been slowly and much more faster recently packing a lot more things up. And so these curtain rods, they were leaning on top of a box. And I'm waking up in the morning and I hear these curtain rods like drag across the box and then come to rest up against something. And I'm looking at the cat and she's looking out into the living room area from the bedroom. And I'm like, okay, now I know what I heard was exactly what I heard. And I had a feeling what it was. So I got up, came out, and I saw the curtain rods the opposite direction of what I placed them to be. Now, that was just the first instance. Another instance is, um, whenever I would start filming in my apartment and I would go back and edit it, I would see orbs. And that was another sign. Another thing too is I would hear like random like knocking, not like somebody knocking at the door, just like one knock, and this apartment is older. This apartment is much older. And hold on, my focus is doing something a little wonky. So this apartment is older. So unusual noises, I'm not really surprised at. It's just the number of occurrences that keeps happening here. And another thing that happened too is, once again, waking up early in the morning, and my plant, which is at this point like 4 feet tall, is not being shaken, but the leaves are being rustled. And like, so I'm waking up and my eyes focused on the plant. And I'm like, what in the world? And I'm looking at the cat, and the cat's looking at the plant too. And the plant is being moved on its, like, the the plant is being cared for. Like, the leaves are being pulled down and stroked and cared for and stuff like that. So something or someone is caring for this plant in a very, very loving way. And so, like, ever since I moved here, I never felt anything off. It's just stuff that I would see and stuff that I would hear. Like, there's no temperature changes. Um, there's no feeling of being watched. It's just stuff that's been happening. And I'm not one to, like, trip over stuff running out the door, you know, going down to the Catholic Church and getting a priest and some sage and stuff like that. I'm not about to do any of that stuff. Instead, I was like, you know what? I'm not renewing this lease. And once I'm out, you can have this whole entire apartment back. but um, but yeah, so that is another update that I figured I would share with y'all. And well, this concludes everything that I have to update right now. Editing the next vlog, and I'm about to start filming for the next vlog. So stay tuned for those. And in the meantime, comment, like, and subscribe, and I will catch y'all later. All right, bye.